Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat. And this is the Fake Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
Guys, welcome back. This is the Fake Ass Book Club, and I'm your girl Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat.
Hey Moni.
It's giving classy.
Yes, because we've been doing classy things with classy ladies.
Oh my gosh. What a fun day. You guys, welcome back. You're just in time to hear about a really fun weekend that we had. We got to see some of our friends.
We did.
A birthday dinner.
From the original, the OG book club, the Real Ass Book Club.
The Real Ass Fake Ass Book Club.
Mm-hmm.
So
what
much
it all
fun.
came from.
It was so nice. So yeah, we got to get dressed up, you guys. We went to RH Dining, which is a super fancy restaurant in the middle of super fancy restoration hardware.
It's a mansion. We went to a mansion.
It was a mansion.
We went to a mansion party.
We were at a mansion party. That's why we're a little bit fancy.
Because it definitely had a fashion element. I'm glad I dressed, because I was like, should I dress up? It's Indiana. Should I dress up?
So cute.
Because thank you. So I was like, should I? And I was like, yes, it's our friend's birthday. Like, if nothing else, if not now, when?
That's exactly right.
So it was kind of fun seeing other people's outfits and, just kind of seeing all the different looks of
all the beauty.
Yes.
It was very nice. So needless to say, we're in a great mood, you guys. So we're excited
feeling bubbly.
Yes, feeling lovely. Excited to get into this episode. You know what? This week we're going to be talking about Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV, which is a documentary that came out a couple weeks ago, actually. So it's definitely a hot topic, and we can touch on the Freaknik documentary as well, because I didn't finish it. So, but it kind of all ties in together. So.
It does.
So, you guys, I want to give you a little bit of a synopsis about Quiet on the Set. So, Quiet on the Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV is a 4-episode docu-series on Max. The series details allegations of abuse, toxic behavior behind the scenes on some of the hit Nickelodeon shows, which were run by a man named Dan Schneider. One of the more noteworthy revelations deals with Drake and Josh co-star Drake Bell experiencing sexual abuse from a voice coach named Brian Peck. And I'm just gonna stop it right there. I could say more, but that's quite enough. You guys get the gist, okay? It was some shady stuff.
Bad.
It was not good. So, before we jump into the juiciness of this episode, you guys, let's do this thing the Fab way and dedicate our episode. So hands over your hearts, everybody. We want to dedicate this episode to our patrons. You guys are the best. We appreciate your continued support. And I want to dedicate this to any and all, I don't want to just limit it to people who've been sexually abused, but anybody that finds themselves in a situation where, someone in a position of power is taking advantage of them, abusing them. I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be a special place somewhere for people who do stuff like that. I hope that, I don't know.
There
I shouldn't
is.
do that.
It's prison.
Yeah, I hope they go to prison, because that's not cool. So, yeah, shout out to you and your families. Anybody dealing with that kind of stuff, my heart goes out to you. What about you, friends?
Yes, and I have to add Beyonce and Bill Burr are getting this episode today. Once again, just, very proud of Beyonce. What a talented young woman, just really doing her thing. And Bill Burr, just because he's been doing the rounds. He was on Neil's podcast. He was on Breakfast Club. I guess he's promoting a tour. I already missed him. He's already been here.
Yes,
so
we were pissed.
Heard about it just in time. But like I said, he always has these really good comedy specials. And he was just on Breakfast Club dropping some gems. He was a truly brave white man. So, dedication over.
I was gonna watch.
Dedication over.
Okay, yeah, dedication over. Those are two of my faves. Before we get into it, you mentioned Beyonce. I almost feel like we can't move on until we've acknowledged that a little bit farther, just because.
Oh, sure.
Talk about
Beyonce.
It is Beyonce.
As
you guys know.
And she's everywhere. She's on your neck.
It's giving looks, giving new music, collaborations, the whole situation. So she dropped Cowboy Carter Friday, and did you get a chance to listen to it yet?
Not the whole thing, much like you in the Freaknik documentary.
Right.
I touched on it, but not everything. But we were talking about this at dinner. Like, Beyonce is giving me the energy of a woman whose kids are in school full time now, and you have like way more energy for other stuff. Like, it's crazy because like all of a sudden it's like, whoa,
she's paying attention to us. Like, damn.
It's like, yeah, and she's giving us a lot. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen Beyonce this much in my life.
She's going hard. I mean, you just did Renaissance. I was just in Chicago in July. Like, it hasn't even been a year, and we're already talking about this next album, which is a 3-part situation. So this is Act 2.
Because actually, while I was watching the Beyonce stuff on YouTube, then her Verizon ad came on. And then, of course, she's got the hairline, too. Like, she's everywhere. And she's been posting a lot on Instagram. She doesn't always do that. I feel like and it's always a different look. Like, I feel like
she ain't playing with y'all.
She always said she didn't come to play with these hoes.
No. And I mean, listen, if you're going to be the queen.
Oh, the rodeo queen of the Chitlin circuit.
Gotta do, and I love it.
I love it. I love it.
Just all the reclamation of these genres, from house music to country. I'm anticipating some kind of rock album or something like that as the third act. To me, I only listened to it once. So I'm one of those people where when I'm taking in new music, I have to listen to it a few times. But I already like it. I will say, first listen, I liked it. There was a couple things that stood out. I liked the song with Miley Cyrus. They do a duet, and because I love harmonies, I love it, and so like the harmonies are really great. And then what was the other? Of course, Jolene was already a Dolly Parton song that is iconic that I've always loved. Her remix, her take on it was really, it was giving all of the energy that's in my soul. Yeah, so not to get too far into it, because again, like I haven't.
There's
really
so much to talk. I'm really looking forward to the episode of The Read. I love when they break down a Beyonce album. Those are some of my favorite episodes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I need to listen to it a couple more times, then listen to The Read, and then share thoughts. But yeah, overall, really, really great.
But it's so packed. She's an amazing artist.
She is. And you know what? I'm glad that we got to talk about something positive and great before we get into this episode, because we got to shift gears a little bit when we're talking about this docu-series. Because sexual abuse, that was like one of the main topics in this. Yeah, and just toxic work environment. So if you're triggered by that, just be aware we're going to be getting into all of those kinds of things. So basically this docuseries is again about Dan Schneider, who was basically like Nickelodeon's golden boy during like the early 2000s.
Yeah, like who's the dude who does all the Law and Orders, like Dick Wolf or something like that? He was sort of the Dick Wolf of Nickelodeon.
Yeah, so the hit maker, like the person that he kind of
like what Tina Fey would do for, like she's showrunner for a lot of different projects and stuff like that, and writer.
So the head bitch in charge.
Yeah, except he's like the opposite of Bossy Pants, where her whole thing was about creating like a positive work environment and accountability. He's more of a, Joan, come over here and give me a back rub.
Ew, gross.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was my fault.
I do not want to be at work and be faced with massaging your greasy ass. Wide
and
shoulders.
I don't think I ever knew he was the dude from Head of the Class.
It's all right. Oh no, that's Saved by the Bell. Sorry.
Oops. Hugs for Moni.
Got my old.
This is my special girl.
I'm so ready though.
No, Top of the Class didn't have a good. Their song was like, it was something like, I think they had two different ones over the course of the show. One of them was like, "We're the top of the class."
You hate it
this year. It wasn't great from what I remember.
Of the class.
But Top of the Class, because what's the name?
I don't remember this.
Was it Head of the Class or Top of the Class? I
it
can't
had to be
remember now. Head of the Class. And because Robin Givens, I feel like that was the first time I ever saw Robin Givens.
Oh yeah,
Head of the Class.
Head of the Class. Look at this guy. So he was probably in the later. Oh, there he is, Dan Schneider.
Yeah.
He was Dennis Blunden. Sounds like a douchebag.
Yeah. It sounds like he could have.
Dennis Blunden. Look at him. He looks like.
I remember looking at him, man.
I don't remember him, but
I remember him because it was. Once again, I loved this show for one. Oh, Richard Pryor's daughter was on it.
I remember her. I remember Robin Givens, and I remember
there was another mixed girl.
Who was the guy? Wasn't Johnny Depp on this too at some point? Am I tripping?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, I could be tripping.
I
just sang the wrong theme song, so no one's surprised if I got this wrong. That's what I'm known for. Anywho.
What song were you singing?
Saved by the Bell.
Oh, that was a great show, though.
Yeah.
Oh, did someone at when I went to the Indiana Comic Con, the lady who took my ticket, she told me I look like Lisa Turtle.
Yeah, listen, you're brown skin and beautiful. That's all it takes.
I told her, I was like, thank you. Yeah. I revel in the compliment.
Before the crack.
Man.
Or whatever that was.
Or whatever, because who knows what she was going through on that set. The fuck?
Let's get into it though. So this dude, basically, because he was in a position of power, he was like this hit maker for Nickelodeon. A lot of, I feel like a lot of the commentary in the documentary does surround him and just how he handled just the culture that he created, like on set. Like people were on pins and needles.
Oh,
and I guess
I would say like he was allowed
that.
To.
What did I say? He created?
No, like I mean you weren't wrong, but I just want to point out that people were made aware of this a lot.
Yeah.
Well, no, lots of people said stuff and it was just ignored and just he was allowed to. Yeah, they got rid of everybody who wanted to talk about it.
It's really messed up.
It is.
So the documentary itself is broken down into 4 parts. There's 4 different episodes, and come to find out, I guess there's going to be a 5th episode that premieres on April the 7th.
Shut the front
door.
Yeah,
and so it says building off of the revelations explored in the first 4 episodes, and include a conversation led by Soledad O'Brien. And it's on where the industry can go from here. So they're going to have, other people coming in and talking about like where things are now versus where things were. And so I think that might be interesting because they're going to be interviewing other, actors that were a part of some of those Nickelodeon shows back then. But
has Keenan said anything? Keenan, from Kenan Kel?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did actually. And let me not misquote this man. Okay. But he was just like, that's crazy. He was like, I feel like a lot of this stuff happened after. He was like, he wasn't like show running and on there. Like his name had credits and stuff like that.
When he was around. Okay.
But he was just like, damn, I didn't, that's crazy. Let me look at that.
You know what a big theme of this documentary was to me?
What?
Was the wide latitude that certain people in our society get that I definitely don't. I can't imagine being a registered sex offender and still being hired to work on a children's show.
It's just
like
unspeakable.
That's wild. That's the whole point of them being a registered sex offender, so that you don't hire them to work around children. Like that's the reason we set up Megan's Law.
So like why? Like, who is dropping the ball at that point? Or is it like we fully know and we don't give a fuck?
Yeah, but that is dropping the ball. Like knowing something and not giving a fuck. Like
it's like that's exactly.
You're bad at your job. Like I think this happens on. Okay, I always like to use this example because you've watched The Office, right?
Yeah, I love that
I think
show.
one of the things that was great, I love The Office as well. But one of the things that also I get from watching The Office is a reminder of what a wide latitude Michael had and how no one else, and Dwight. Like, remember, I just got through watching the fire drill episode. Huh?
Didn't
he did, but before he brought the gun to work, he set the building on fire to do a realistic fire drill and also cut the face off of the CPR dummy. And I kind of feel like if I had done all that stuff, I would not be allowed to come to work the next day. I feel like I would very much get fired as opposed to the people that we just give chance after chance after chance to.
Yeah.
So I think
also too, it's like, and then of course, not even talking about The Office. It's very clear that the reason why he was able to was because he was bringing money to Nickelodeon, and there was very little oversight. There weren't like Nickelodeon people there on the set.
No.
There did come a point where they were getting these complaints about Dan, and it was like, okay, well he can't be sitting behind the camera anymore. He has to now go in his office and watch from his office. Like he couldn't be out there interacting and stuff like that because of the toxic environment. However, he's still watching. Like there's still a level of like, and he's still over the show.
Can I just say, I don't think he was that critical to the show's success. Like, quite honestly, when you're looking at like what all he did was just keep everybody stressed and overworked. Like, for the most part, other people were writing the shows. The kids were brilliant. You know,
they were good actors.
I feel like regardless of who would have produced or ran the show, these would have been good shows. Like, there's plenty of shows that work really well without having to abuse people.
That is very, very true.
So,
I mean, and the writers, let's credit the writers. I mean, they're the ones coming up with the stuff.
And the women, because that was the other thing too. I think that when you study the history of people, you do kind of notice that when there's organizations that refuse to have any like diverse leadership, and when I say diverse, I mean like no women, like
different age groups,
like
different abilities,
these different perspectives.
backgrounds.
If you only have like one perspective, it's easy to overlook stuff and make a lot of mistakes, and it leads to a ton of abuse because and it was clear that he didn't respect women. Like, he made those two women share a salary.
Ain't no way.
And this is how he was treating the grown people. So when it came to children, he was really getting over, because children naturally want to trust adults.
Yeah.
And that's why in society we try to take measures to protect children because they're particularly vulnerable.
I mean, it's just a gross abuse of power, and it was just sad to see. And it's like, you know, you get these kids who are, you know, presented with this opportunity to live their dream. And, you know, as a kid watching Nickelodeon, like, I grew up in the, you know, 80s and 90s, and Nickelodeon was huge. Now, a lot of these shows were past when I was like actually really watching Nickelodeon, but don't get me wrong, like, there was like Nickelodeon, because think about this, during the time the Nickelodeon was popping, it wasn't like you had streaming services with just, or a straight up Cartoon Network. Like, if you didn't catch Disney or Nickelodeon, it's like there wasn't really much else. So like,
there was Channel 4 in the mornings, there'd be cartoons. And
for like what, an hour, 2 hours, so maybe 4 shows.
And there were no Xboxes yet. We had Nintendo, but they were only so good, and not everybody had them. Like, there wasn't as much competition in the distraction economy.
Absolutely not. And even when these shows came out in the early 2000s, you know what I'm saying? Like, because the heyday for Nickelodeon was like 90s and 2000s. So this is before the internet. This is before all the streaming and stuff like that. And let's talk about it. My kids watch this shit now. Like, it's on the streaming services. These shows that they're talking about.
Sam and Kat, Victorious, Amanda Bynes show, that. Drake and Josh. And can I just say too, I loved these shows. Like, they were really.
Say that I never watched them hardcore. Like, my kids like them, so I've seen.
So here's the thing, like, the iCarly and Victorious, they actually had like good songs. Okay. Like, they both, especially Victorious, because they're going to a gift and talented school.
And
they're performers and stuff like that. And then on iCarly, her brother Spencer, he was hilarious to me.
Okay.
Like, there was an episode where he just couldn't stop pranking people, and he does like a whole montage to the song called "The Joke Is on You," and he's like, you know,
going hard. Okay, all right. Like, so
hopefully no children were hurt in the filming of that, because I love it so much.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so like people. It feels so crazy to think that something that brought so much joy to you as the person watching these shows and enjoying these shows, especially when there was nothing else, and it felt like it was just for you. It was like, you're speaking my language. We got fart jokes, we got
JUSTFORME,
people getting slimed, all
that
shit,
like being able to run circles around adults. Like that kind of.
And the kid is the hero, like, and the person that they're talking about. And so to know that like these kids were put in a situation where they're, for one, what was wild to me too was that like, y'all are getting overworked. Like, fuck these child labor laws, how that got real sketchy in there too. I mean, again, like, if they're doing that to the adults, y'all are sharing a salary. I guess it shouldn't be surprising that y'all are doing this to these kids.
Because they were talking, who are they saying that? Oh, that was Amanda Bynes. That was never at the like school on set and stuff like that. Like, and peace to that girl. Because I remember when she was having like kind of her public like nervous breakdown and stuff, and people were like, "Oh, she's crazy," and it's like, man,
you would be too.
You would be too.
It makes me think of two things. It makes me think about the book that we read. Friend, remind me what it was called. Trainwreck. Yes, about how people love to see young women just. You know, you love to see them,
You
love
want
to
to
build
lob
them
them
up
up so you can knock them out.
so you can knock them down, and how it's like, yo, and honestly that's celebrity culture too, but specifically to women, we go harder because we'll still defend men
After they
when we
rape.
kind of know that it should be sketchy, you know what I'm saying? We'll still be like, well, I don't know.
It's like, well, there's still not enough evidence for
don't
me
know.
yet. And he said he's sorry now. And them letters them people wrote about how, what's his name? The Peck dude. What's his name? Josh
Listen,
Peck.
Yes.
Okay,
So
let's go back. I'm sorry, we're all over the place. Yeah. Nickelodeon.
It was so the Peck guy was like an acting coach.
Okay.
We got into him more in the second season.
Was it Gregory Peck?
Not season, the first
episode.
Jason Michael Hanley and Brian Peck. So
Brian Peck.
in Hidden
It's
in
like
Plain
they were like,
Sight-
not Brian.
especially Brian's ass. Okay. Second episode's called Hidden in Plain Sight because during this time they're kind of unveiling that there were there was 3 convicted.
It seems like a lot. I was like, damn, how many that we know of?
That we know of that they found out. So Michael Handy was one. Jason Michael Handy was one. He was a production assistant. Then Brian Peck, he was an actor and dialogue coach. They both were convicted while they were working there on Nickelodeon. And it would be like, we're having these meetings and we're gonna have the parents leave real quick. And it's like, so Brian's not gonna be working here anymore. Does anybody have any questions or anything? And
yeah, like why'd you
"Well."
ask our parents to leave?
Right. It was just it was just crazy. And the parents who were like piping up and saying stuff and making points.
Read Black Moms.
Black moms and white dads.
And
There
white
was this
dads,
It
yeah.
was actually Josh's
His dad, Drake Bell.
Drake Bell's
daddy. And just goes to show, it's like, man.
And he was like, I was there every day. I was always with him. I was always with him. I saw some stuff I didn't like. I tried to call it out. And so what ended up happening was if you were one of the parents or people calling out some of the shady things that you saw, you were ostracized. People were making, come on, be cool. Like you're hindering your kid's career.
It caused some real rifts in relationships. Like parents, they were on their cry. That was the part that broke my heart. Where it's like, I'm trying to protect, like.
That was, so fast forward to episode
But I'm
4.
sorry, that's what predators do though.
They
Like
do.
not just pedophiles, but
Yep.
anybody who's trying to abuse you, they isolate you first before they go in with the full on abuse. Because that was the thing with Brian, like, he warmed him up. He got everything in place before he finally made his move.
It was so messed up too.
Yeah.
The most heartbreaking part about that was the dad was fighting so hard to keep him protected. And he was like, I knew it felt inappropriate. And when I would say stuff, they were like, well,
Brian's gay. You're probably just being homophobic.
It's
like, don't, and that's so gaslighty. Like, that's like.
That's the thing about this whole conversation to me that's super interesting though. Like, I think that gets thrown in even to like the Puffy conversation, where people are like, oh, like, so take like the no Diddy thing. They're trying to use that as the new pause. Pause is like, okay, if it's some gay shit, we say pause to clarify that we're not
being gay.
Because heaven forbid, we don't want anyone to mistake me for that. And I think it's like we're misconstrued. Like if you're saying no Diddy though, like no, well, I'm not. The conversation I'm having isn't about his homosexuality or his bisexuality, right? Because grown consenting people can do whatever the fuck they want to do with their genitals, right? The issue is that when it's non-consensual, when it is
when you're violating consent because your body belongs to you. Like you
when you're trafficking people, if you're all of those kinds of things are the things that are Diddy, allegedly trafficking people, whatever. That's the issue that we're talking about. So like, let's not conflate. Like, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like that gayness or queerness is associated with being like a predator.
But sadly, it feels like that's what
crazy.
it takes for people to finally want to go after predators. Because that was the thing too, because even with Dan Schneider, like to his credit, he did take action when he found out what was happening to Drake. But I wonder if he would have done that had it have been one of the girls, because he was obviously doing, you know what I'm saying? Like,
word on the street. No, and this could be misinformation, so don't quote me, y'all. Don't come here for news.
Listen, Fake
I'm
Ass
trying
Book
to
Club,
Google
the
it right
comedy
now.
podcast.
But I just remember hearing this recently that there's this, conspiracy theory or a background theory that he got Amanda Bynes pregnant when she
I'd
was
heard
a
that
kid.
in the streets too.
So that's not any better than what. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's also crazy. If that's true. Now, I don't know if that's true. Again, don't repeat that and say Moni told you that shit.
No.
That's just something that's floating around there that I
because it was crazy
like,
because
man,
even before I heard that, I remember like when I'm listening to this, I'm thinking like, gosh, this sounds so similar to like when like different women and girls were describing their experiences with R. Kelly. And it's because it's a like abuse is it's a observable pattern. Like, and so of course I think our society is really obsessed with like rich and famous people, so we'll hone in on that and pay attention to those stories, but all of these things happen on a much smaller level, like every day, all over the world.
And a lot of times people aren't disgusted or upset about it or anything.
They'll be like, you brought it on yourself somehow.
And it's
probably
really
it was like, were you being mouthy? What were you wearing?
Two of the worst questions. But yeah, it was just heartbreaking too. Like you said, I mean, going back to like the dad and like just the care he was taking to be vigilant about that. And
well, let's talk about it, because why do you think the mom ignored his advice? Because that was the thing too, because I think Brian, since he's obsessed with Drake, he probably he like knew that his parents, were divorced and had a contentious relationship.
And he knew the dad was there all the time. The mom was not.
And
so
the mom, he was like, I want them. Yeah, he knew that the mama would be easier to manipulate. That's what he wanted to do, was like, okay, I need to get the daddy out of the way, so I'm going to get the mom, put a battery in her back about how the daddy is actually stalling out his career. And so he made things so terrible that the dad was like, listen, I don't want this to negatively affect Drake, so I will release...
This is what he wants to do.
Yeah, I will release the parental rights to her fully, but you have to promise me you're not going to leave him alone with Brian.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, whatever. And then immediately, like...
Now this dude's taking you to your auditions. Now this dude has got you at his house spending the night. Next thing you know. And so, yeah, it's just really sad. And it was just heartbreaking to see the dad just like crying. Like he couldn't believe he worked so hard and stuff. And I think too, the reason why that probably did happen was because, if the mom and dad already had a contentious relationship, you just intuitively want to do everything the opposite of what you're telling me. It's the same thing. Like it's the way you have to approach people when they're wrong is so delicate. Yeah. And it does suck. But when you are wrong, you do appreciate it if it can be done. But it's just so hard. You just have to be Michelle Obama. We established that Patreon. Go to Patreon.
Yeah, be Michelle Obama. People.
You just have to be her. But it was just heartbreaking on a lot of levels. And the one black kid who had he was on one of the what show was that he was
All
on?
That?
Was it All That?
The sketch one?
The band, was it Amanda Bynes' show?
Okay.
He ended up getting kicked off because his mom was asking too many questions. She was,
they're like, you don't need to come back next year.
I was like, oh yeah, they would have to kick me off.
Yeah, and like I said, and that caused like real rifts in their relationship because they were trying to get out the hood. And he was like, man, I thought this was going to get my family out. And
the pressure of that being your job when you're a kid is really unfair. So to see the impact that it had on your interpersonal relationships, and just how pointed that was at certain times and manipulative, it was like, wow, this is heartbreaking, and this is really really sad. And so, and I don't know what more you can do other than just being like, you don't get to be a part of this until you're like an adult, I guess.
Well.
Because even then, I mean, technically, abuse still happens, right? Like, it's not like you're immune to it when you're an adult. But, maybe you can set them up for more, I don't know how you prepare kids
They
for
always
that.
try to make it seem like, well, there's always an adult on the set, like, which is in, like, the child's view. But I don't know what the protections would be, because when we were reading Jeanette McCurdy's book, her book, I'm Glad My Mom's Dead, like she had nowhere to turn because she was being abused at work. She was being abused at home. She didn't go to school. So there was really nowhere for her to turn.
That is wild.
Yeah. So I don't know. Once again, my little catchphrase is your body belongs to you, but I feel like we don't get that message enough, especially to kids. Like as little kids, we're always like, give them a hug or don't do that. Like we're always telling, we're like, at least the way I was raised, I think we're getting away from it now, but like this idea that, you just have to.
That children have autonomy over their own bodies. Or can
like
say, hey, I actually don't want to hug her.
Yeah, I don't want to get covered in peanut butter and have dogs lick it off. Yeah, they were doing some wild stuff, y'all. Because we were talking about the little competition the other day when they were licking the peanut butter off of toes. It just goes to show, like, if you don't have enough, like, real adults around, like...
Shit gets wild.
It does. There's a... Of course, in these Disney, Nickelodeon shows are super fun because the kids, it's like, all kids all the time. In real life, someone has to be like, hey, lights out.
Yeah, this ain't happening. We got to wrap this shit up, yo. And, I think that Dan's thing was like he loved sliding in sexual innuendo stuff that made it past the censors. Cause
it's like, hey, it's Pickle Boy.
That was gross. And then he's sticking the pickle through like a glory hole, basically, is what it looked like. So it was like a doorknob thing. He's passing a pickle to like Ray Romano.
Ray was playing into it too. And it was like,
Ray,
I made peace to Ray, but it's.
Like, I don't know. Because here's the thing, like if you're just like, it's Nickelodeon, it doesn't have to make sense, I guess. But that's the other part of it. It's like when you're looking at this from a critical lens of like, okay, what are we going to subject our kids to and what they see? And even though they don't understand that it's a sexual innuendo, even if it's not meant that way, if it looks that way, let's not do it.
Especially that nose boy sketch.
The dick and balls on his shoulders. Yeah. Well, it was a nose.
And the amount of like pretend cum shots.
You guys, it was bad.
It was bad.
It was bad. It was bad.
And then for everybody who wanted, I guess there was some woman who, did you listen to the read this week?
I started it, I haven't finished. I'm maybe like 20 minutes in,
well, spoilers for the read. But one of Crystal's read was one of the moms from one of these shows. I don't know. She was basically praising Dan Schneider, being like, you're a genius, you're brilliant, we owe everything to you. Like, don't let them get you down, blah, blah, blah. And this was like a black mom. This is one of them. I don't know who she was exactly. But it was like, y'all.
I mean, he could be the reason why your kid had a chance or whatever the hell. Because clearly, if Dan didn't like you, you didn't have a chance on the show. And then when you breed that sort of environment where it's like, the more I'm praising this guy, the more I'm doing what he likes, the more I get. Like, you're still basically just, like,
you're
kowtowing for, like, you're part of the problem at this point. And not for nothing, like you said, I mean, like, the show probably could have been popular without him putting in his little dick jokes and stuff like that, because I mean, you still had writers on this show. So like, to give him full credit for all of that, it's kind of like, man, like you said, I mean, when you have somebody who walks on set and the energy just instantly shifts, like, have you ever been in a room and then a person walks in and it's like, everyone's happy, and then it's like, now there's no air in the room. That's always the worst feeling. And then being at work, and that's the case.
I think that's the thing. I think there's a part of some environments, I think you have to have that to be productive. Like, that's just part of, like, we've all
coming.
Well, there's also just the comfort of familiarity. You know what I mean? That comes with abuse sometimes, if that's what you're used to. Because sometimes you're just happy it's there, so you're not waiting on it. That's the other thing too.
I never thought about that. That's terrible. Not happy it's there, so you don't have to wait on it.
Because sometimes the anticipation's worse.
The anticipation is definitely worse.
So yeah,
I feel like I put extra syllables or something.
Happy healing, everyone.
My goodness.
I know.
Jeez
it was
Louise.
I just hate that this was happening to children.
Absolutely.
I really, the Drake stuff, like, kudos to him for coming out and talking about that. To me, it was also insane that Brian, because that's the thing that killed me too, was when they were going to court for the sentencing, like Brian, he had his side packed out and got like a bunch of letters from celebrities at, so that his sentence wouldn't be too heavy. It's like he must have been terribly tempted and there must have been too much temptation. Like that kept coming up over and over again. It's like we are talking about raping a child. Like, how is that? Like, I don't know. I mean, my temptations be like, ooh, I think I'm going to eat this chocolate cake, even though I know it's my daughter's.
Full. And I'm just being greedy AF. Right
yeah,
now.
like I've never been like, ooh.
I almost wanna
it's like this child is being so sexy right now. I can't even take it. Like to me, that's not a problem I've ever had.
Thank goodness.
But, apparently Brian was struggling. So
and we should have space for that. It's like, what, Brian?
So Brian got 16 months off of, what he did which is
was
crazy.
Bad. It was like, this isn't just like, oh, I'm so sorry. Which I don't even know how that's a thing. I don't even know how that could be a narrative around like sexual abuse where it's like, I just accidentally.
It wasn't my fault. Anyway, but what was crazy to me is when he got out, he got a show on Disney. Yeah. He got a job at Disney. Like what?
We just need to be better. This is unacceptable. And the fact that like adults, whether you're, the parents of these kids or you're on the production, I mean, it just there has to be some sort of way to be like, this is unacceptable.
And there's somebody else. There's billions of people in the world. There's somebody else who can do this job who isn't a child molester. I have to believe that. I have to believe that
perhaps.
Or at least a less bad one. You know what I mean? He was like,
one that doesn't act on it?
Yes.
It's like, if you just think about it, I mean, I can't control your thoughts.
Yeah, but it was,
it's just bad. It would just be, let's just have somebody who's not even on that wave. Like, let's just have somebody who's there to make TV and make these kids comfortable so that they can transition into this work that they want to do, that they're so excited to do.
They're like, that's why they're willing to do anything, because they don't want to blow. It's like, I'm not giving up my shot. Like this,
and then you're looking at your parents as a wedge between you and the thing that you love to do or your opportunity, which is
a natural feeling anyway for kids. It's like I always feel like it's like, man, I was trying to ruin my fun. I'm just trying to stay up all night and eat cookies. What's the problem? And it's like
cavities, diabetes, sleep deprivation, dehydration.
The shit that comes on at night.
You know what I mean?
Like,
just
so many things.
Lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
It's just kind of my job.
Now you get older and you're like, oh yeah, those were good rules.
Thank goodness.
Good rules, Mom.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I was a dumb kid. I get it.
Oh my goodness. And then, I do feel a lot of sympathy too for Drake, because to feel responsible.
You could still feel in his language like he still was blaming himself.
I mean,
and I was just screaming because I was watching this with my daughter. Yeah, we both are.
It's not your fault. It's not your.
We have gotten in the habit of pausing.
You guys are crazy.
But yes, we are crazy. We have to pause it because here's the part where my daughter lost it. When the one mama was kind of facilitating a relationship with her daughter and one of the crew, not romantic, but she was just like, he would talk to her about projects and stuff like that, and he ends up sending nudes.
He gave her the email address because I think it started off with like a letter or something first.
It was just a little bit, but that's the other thing too. It's like, you don't need to be pen pals with no grown man.
And I'm gonna explain that to you because I understand how maybe you're like, well, he's a nice grown up and he was like helping and stuff. Like, yeah, but any grown up who, and I'm always saying this to my kid, any grown up who is like not super interested in being your friend and corresponding with you outside of like the sort of normal parameters of, like, this isn't like you being in class and your teacher's telling you good job on the test you did. Like, I want to give you my personal information. I want to have side conversations with you
without your parents.
With you. Yeah, this is just between me and you. That's weird.
Those are tricky people.
Regular adults don't do that. That's sus, as the kids say.
Because like I said, kids aren't, just sorry. Most kids aren't that interesting to adults if you're not like related to me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like being like, oh, let's see, what's this kid up to? No, it's like you just don't care.
I mean, y'all are cool and everything, but
and I mean, maybe it's rude, but like a lot of times I just look at my phone when my daughter's not like in the game. Like even when I go to sporting events that she's playing in, like if she's taking ad, I'll be like, oh, cool. Let me check my.
Because guess what? If you were there, super excited to watch kids play, now you're the creep. You feel me? Like that is weird. Don't be that person.
Oh, but anyway, so like the dude sends news to the daughter. She flips out, tells the mama, and the mama, she's like, well, I didn't call the police because I didn't want them to think I was a bad mom. And that's when my daughter was like, pause.
I have notes.
So,
first off,
what? What? Like, listen, you made a mistake. Like, you were naive and you trusted a person you shouldn't have trusted. That is a mistake. You don't need to make another mistake.
Another larger and more severe.
Because you're just going to be, do you think he's just going to stop at your daughter?
He's going to keep going.
Yeah, they
and
sure
I
do.
think that sometimes that's the vibe, too. It's like, well, as long as they're not.
Oh, my daughter. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Same kind of thing even with the dad too, because I think that like had I felt that strongly about it, but I was like, I don't want to hinder. It's like, well, what are my rights to have like a liaison or a non-parental person who has to be on there to make sure that the mom, because I don't trust this bitch because this is why I have custody now. Like, I need there to be somebody on set, like, I forget what the name of those people are. But, like, there has to be some kind of somebody who could be there on behalf of the kid. Because there's
like an advocate or guardian or something.
Yeah, some kind of an advocate or something like that. I don't know if that exists. If it doesn't, that should be a thing. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Just
so
that
that, because it is hard to cultivate an environment where people do feel safe to say, I don't feel comfortable with this.
Yeah.
And I think most, not just show business, but most, I want to say American work environments, it's not like that. You're just so, it's communicated to you so often how replaceable you are.
Oh, 100%.
So,
and especially when I feel like Dan he made the environment the perfect cesspool for that sort of behavior because everybody's already walking on eggshells. So of course you're inappropriate top to bottom. So the culture of a place or any workplace starts from the top down.
Yeah.
So if the top of first of all, I had an experience one time where I'm like, if this is how HR is moving, this is before I even got hired, I was like, yo, this is crazy. And so again, like when those kind of behaviors go unchecked, y'all all have worked somewhere where you're like, how is this person still working here? How is
almost every single job I've ever worked, there's that person.
How is this allowed?
It's
Why
like
aren't we saying anything? This is the worst. Everyone hates it, but no one's saying anything.
Because the mortgages.
We have
like,
bills.
this will ruin my life. Well, and that is also, I'll say it every time, it makes a very good case for universal basic income. It makes it a lot harder to create an abusive workplace because
I don't have to put up with this shit.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about, it's like it's either this or homelessness.
Right.
It's like if those aren't real choices.
It's like,
that's
man.
not it. It allows people to be like, okay, well, even if I lose this job, I'll still be able to like have like my Maslow's needs met, so that I can use my brain. Like, yeah, it was just it was so heartbreaking. Like it really like I think I talked about this last episode. It must just be really hard for like people to not rape. I mean, I don't struggle with that, but for some people, it just seems like a rape and we will go.
I'm sorry. You can't say that. You can't say a we will go because that made me think about a song. And it's like, that's an inappropriate song. How dare you? This is your fault. You know what? We're taking a break on that. I have to gather myself because guess what? It's going to get inappropriate. And I don't want to go there. So we'll be right back. Back from the break, you guys. Wow. Whew. That was heavy, man.
It was. Listen, you have to protect yourself constantly in this world.
You do, and it's really sad. It's so sad when you see kids You know what I'm saying? Like the end effects of it too, because I think I had pulled up something where, Drake Bell was like, they were asking him about it. Of course, now I don't have it. But basically, Drake Bell says Nickelodeon's response to Quiet on the Set is pretty empty. They still show our shows while I have to pay for my own therapy. And that about sums it up. It's like they're still making money off of this content. My kids, see these shows or whatever. And the collateral damage of somebody's like soul and mental health and wellness.
And family,
man. Like it's just super heartbreaking. And I hope that the 5th episode gets more into, how do we solve these problems? Like how do we continue to protect kids in these situations? Because they're the most vulnerable of us, and it is our job to protect the kids. So, and it has lasting effects. I mean, you could clearly see that this man is like.
And I know we didn't get a chance to talk
sad.
about Freaknik, but one of the things that stood out a lot in it was, for one, just learning the history. It was really interesting.
Twas.
But secondly, when, it started ramping up and getting more popular and people would warn, young women to be careful. I'm like, why doesn't anyone ever tell, like, young men to just not rape?
It's like, y'all, listen.
It's like, really just give them some instruction. I remember there was a very good episode of A Different World where they really kind of, like, did that.
Talked about consent.
Well, they talked about consent and this is because dude was trying to convince Dwayne Wayne that girls, they're not gonna give it up. You kind of got to take it because they're trained that they're not supposed to give it up. And Dwayne was like, I think what you're describing is rape. He was like, nah, you're just taking the choice. You're just giving her what she wants. And it was very.
Whoa.
It was.
They used to get the 90s used to go there.
They
man.
did, but it was a very
and
important
stuff.
topic. Like people need to hear it because Dwayne was kind of like, I kind of hear what you're saying, and I definitely want it, but
this feels
it's
like
still
sexual abuse.
Yeah, and he was, and it turns out because that happens a lot on college campuses. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I have,
but yeah, this tends to be a problem a lot.
And even when Keke Palmer was being vocal about her experience with Trey Songz and being asked to be in a video, going there, and then things were happening that she felt uncomfortable with, and people being like, well, maybe you were taking it wrong, and da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, nah, what you guys are not gonna do is invalidate my experience that I have. We have all been in situations where somebody's asserting themselves in a sexual way over you that you're not comfortable with, and you're trying to navigate that. It's not always super cut and dry. There's power dynamics at play. Again, it could be
because I want to work
that I signed up for, right? And you know that if the
word gets out, it's like she's difficult, she's crazy, she's hard to deal with. Yeah.
AKA,
you've heard
I'm
it all over
easily
again.
Sexually assaulted without complaining about it or trying to get out of it. So, it is something that we have to wrestle with as a society, and I hope that these conversations continue because people deserve to be protected. We and at the same time we deserve to explore our sexuality in a consensual way.
Yeah, they're called
without
apps.
It being taken out.
Go on a fuck app if you're horny.
They have them.
Don't go to work.
Wow.
Go to a fuck app, get that out of your system, then go to work.
Man.
And yes, be careful, protect yourself out here, but also don't attack people.
Yeah, it's not cool. It's not nice.
Not.
Yeah, that's when all the fun is gone. It's
it's like you gotta.
I might, you know what I'm saying? You're not even giving me the chance to participate in the level that I would participate in because now you're doing too much. So don't do too much. That's the lesson that I took. Let's rate this.
The documentary.
The documentary, yeah.
I mean, it feels weird, but I think it was well produced. I don't want it to be feel good.
That's how I feel about liking negative stuff on social media. I'm like, why am I thumbs up in this? Why am I
but it's
hurting?
I guess I want them to know I saw it. But so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 slimes.
I like it.
I like the, and I guess I'll know for sure after I see the 5th one so I'll give it 4 out of 5 for now. And then if the 5th one is cool, I'll give it a 5 out of 5.
If the 5th one is cool. Yeah, I'm going to give it 4.5. See, I was going to say slimes, so now I got to think of something else. I don't know, just cameras maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 4.5 cameras. Same thing. I haven't seen the whole thing technically, so I can't give it a perfect score. But I'm giving it a high score because I feel like the fact that they're taking the time to do this documentary, to highlight this issue that's ongoing, it adds in a positive way to the conversations around this abuse. So I like that. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, we're going to get better. I do think we're improving as a species. I don't think we deserve to be wiped out yet. We're getting better.
Okay. So, moving on to next week, you guys. Let's spin this effing wheel. Spin it.
Okay, so we are going to be reading Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yay.
So, yes.
Maybe I'll get his name right this
Your
time.
personal
It's the
astrophysicist.
deGrasse.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that French?
I don't know. We'll find out.
deGrasse.
Because we always look into our authors.
Yeah, man.
So hopefully we'll maybe get a little background on him. But
so
this
cute
will be
and nice.
apropos because we got a little cosmological event coming up.
I know.
Known as a solar eclipse. And
Are you guys excited or not?
I'm pretty excited.
Should be fun.
I was telling you what I wanted to do.
Tell them.
I want to just lay down on the ground and look up at the sky while it's happening. So hopefully it won't be cold.
I love that.
Today was so nice. Like if it's a day like today.
I would like that too. Actually, I never thought about laying on the ground. Obviously there's blankets involved.
Yes.
Do
Do you remember as a kid, like just laying down and like looking at the clouds pass by?
I do. I love looking at the sky. I'm always looking at it.
It's pretty
I'm
great. It's a
obsessed.
great show.
It's so nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. And this will be fun because I've never read any of his books. It's International Astronomy Day next month on the April 29th. So he'll be kicking off our first April episode. And we're pretty random. So I love our fake ass book club because we get to do what we want, read what we want, and it should be fun.
Because our bodies belong to us.
They do.
And your body belongs to you.
Absolutely.
So use it to watch the fake ass book club, please.
And you guys, listen, you heard this episode. It's a lot going on in this world. So make sure that you're vetting the people you're around. Spend the time with the people who you know are for you, who are here to protect you. And do the things that make you feel good, safely, and with, awareness of your surroundings. Also, before we go, I do want to shout out Middle Ground Comedy Fest coming up April 27th. We will be there live, recording a live show. So you guys, you'll see some more stuff on our social media. You guys can get tickets, show up, support. Also, PopCon is that very same weekend on Sunday, April the 28th. We will also be there for a live show. So listen, we out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? So we're pretty excited about these things, you guys. Be looking out for that information if you want to come out and support and see what we're talking about in real life. Because we're real people. So yeah, it should be fun. Is there anything else we have going on before we get out of here, friend?
No.
Okay. Well, that's it, guys. Get out of here. Get back to life. Have some fun. We love you. Thank you for showing up again for another fun episode, and we will see you next week. Peace.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.